We're Ashley and Debbie Towden and we run Challa Station near Mount Magnet in WA. You can call us the Droughtmasters. Challa Station is situated in the arid inland region of the Southern Rangelands, which is the toughest place in Australia to farm. They say that the good thing about living here is that anything you do afterwards is easy. This is arid shrubland country with an annual rainfall of just 220 millimetres. For the last 20 years we've seen a big change in the rainfall patterns, with spasmodic summer rainfall events now dominating over previously more reliable winter rains. Climate resilience and sustainability have always been the long-term focus of this 200,000 hectare property, and with such unpredictable rainfall patterns, we've learnt to do starvation really well. Fraught with many challenges in an unforgiving landscape, particularly in the last 50 years, the family business has nevertheless continued to grow and expand. Since 1888, the Dowden family have been continually adapting their business practices in response to markets, climate change, cutting-edge research and innovation. Now I can see you asking yourselves, how do they do it? Well, mostly it's down to plain hard work, but we do have 5 pillars of climate resilience that we can share with you. Livestock selection and management, maximising rainfall capture, diversification on or off property, a long-term vision, and carbon capture.
Nothing can replace the expertise of the pastoralist on their own land. We understand and can read the country. We live full-time on Challa and are out and about on the station most days, constantly assessing the condition of the cattle and the feed on offer. We're planning to start using satellite tracking ear tags to monitor our cattle's movements. This will complement the satellite water monitoring systems already in place. We use self-herding techniques to ensure the property is grazed as evenly as possible, and we believe that regenerating the land with the assistance of mouths and hooves is more effective than leaving the land destocked. Building trap yards is an important priority. These will ensure that the cattle are managed quickly and efficiently using minimal labour input and allowing a reduction in cattle numbers as soon as necessary when food on offer is decreasing. Cattle are managed using low-stress stock handling techniques, and we implement a 2-week intensive training program for all of our future breeding animals. Santa Gertrudis bulls have been specifically selected to cover our herd, and we believe they will be the best fit for our environment. They have enough Bos indicus in them to withstand the harsh environmental conditions and are soft enough to be sold into the southern local West Australian market as well as the live export market.
It does rain at Challa from time to time, but with the way the climate has changed, we can't look forward to winter rain like we used to. Most of our rain now falls in summer as a result of thunderstorms or the odd cyclone that makes its way inland. In this low rainfall landscape, every drop of rain counts. We can't increase the amount of rainfall we get, but we can do our best to control what happens when it hits the ground. We work to maximise rainfall capture and minimise the erosion that can happen during these big rainfall events. In our region, somebody driving down a road when the ground is damp can leave impressions. When it rains, water can run into these impressions and over time they create erosion. Our major focus at the moment is repairing the historical erosion on our roads and spreading water back across the landscape. I'll let Ashley explain how he does that.
Alright, this bank that I'm standing on top of here, which you'll see in a minute, is one of the major check banks. It's a watercourse that runs from that direction to this direction, and what's been in the past, if you pan this way, is we've had some gullying. This is right at the head of the gullies here, so the watercourse is behind you, and looking down that way there was some severe erosion, gully heads, which as you can see have been scrub packed. When we put the bank in, we scrub packed. If you pan out to the right, what we've done here is take the water from these gully heads and disperse the water. Probably the water course is another 150 metres straight off the end of the bank wide, and it's protecting these gully heads. What we've got here is a woboy. Now, we installed these probably 12 to 18 months ago with the assistance of Challa Station, and there's a series of woboys down this road. This road historically has been particularly bad. It's been a creek and just getting worse and worse and worse. Now what we've got is the water flow coming in from my left over here at about 45 degrees, and you can actually see the watercourse is still trickling. You can see the water on the ground swimming along, and it crosses out at 45 degrees to the road and ends up going out. If you pan back to me, and the water flow is flowing that direction out there. So at 45 to the road. So it's been coming onto the road and running down the road and droughting all this country to the right. Now with this series of woboys, what we've done now is been managed to get most of the water off the road. This one hasn't been breached at all. A couple of these smaller ones that did flow over the top, but this one here is working really well. So
you can see from the air now how effective these check banks and woboys are. The big check bank in front of us at the moment needs a little bit more work on the right to stop that water spilling off the edge, but it's doing a pretty good job. And then we can see the woboys on the left hand side of the picture and down that road, and you can see how effective they are at getting the water off the road and spreading it back along the landscape. A few weeks later you can see just how effective those check banks and woboys have been. They slowed the water when it rained and encouraged it to soak into the ground to increase the moisture infiltration into the soil profile. This enables the growth of more vegetation, which helps to bind the soil, reduce and repair erosion, rebuild soil carbon and maximise the capture of moisture in the infrequent rain events. This creates a compounding beneficial effect and ultimately a healthier landscape. And in the long term, a healthy landscape allows us to maximise production from our cattle.
Diversification has always been a big part of what we do here at Challa Station. It's made us a lot more climate resilient and given us the ability to earn an income in times of severe drought or hardship. It's allowed us to be able to destock our cattle numbers or our stock numbers and still earn a reasonable income, and thus not impacting on the environment. The diversification that we chose was to go into earth moving, so we've got a reasonable grader here, 14-foot grader, 950 cat loader, there's a little higher truck there, and we've got a couple of prime movers out here that we use for pulling water carts or tippers, and we chose to go into contracting either road building, road maintenance, road construction and mine contracting work, and that's allowed us to have a steady income stream in times when we have not been able to earn an income off the land. We've also diversified into aerial mustering, and over the years we've mustered right through the southern half of Western Australia's pastoral areas and derived an income from the aerial mustering contract work as well.
So far we've looked at three pillars of climate resilience: livestock selection and management, maximising rainfall capture and diversification. Our fourth pillar of climate resilience is to have a long-term vision. Environmental sustainability is underpinned by financial sustainability. You can't be green when you're in the red. Climate resilience requires a long-term vision, and work in the office is just as important as the work done outdoors. A station's a great place to live, but to be sustainable, a station needs to be more than just a lifestyle property. It needs to be operating as a vibrant business with multiple income streams, a long-term plan, and the ability to read and respond to market demands. We keep an eye on the future as we work our way towards it, and we're ready to adapt our business when the need arises. Careful budgeting has long been the cornerstone of the success of the business. In tough times, we've had to be able to run the station on next to nothing. We repair and recycle when we can, and we put money aside for the dry times. Decades of operating in a boom-bust cycle has taught us to maintain reserves and carefully plan expenditure.
We are part of the agricultural sector that is transforming practices to reduce carbon footprints. We are increasing our vegetation cover on the station through our human-induced regeneration carbon project. Although pastoralists don't clear the land, our grazing stock can have an effect on the native vegetation. We use self-herding and other techniques to ensure that cattle don't browse on the regrowing trees, and so the native forests are able to regenerate naturally. Having an HIR carbon project allows us to run our station at just half of its carrying capacity and to sell the excess carbon credits. Lightly stocking the station makes us more climate resilient because we're able to spread cattle over more country during dry times, and the cattle can find enough to eat. Our cattle help to increase soil microbiology and carbon by grazing the vegetation and spreading manure. We are investigating innovative ways of using the cattle to spread microbes throughout the soil, and when you have 500,000 acres of soil, it's good to get a bit of help. New data is emerging that suggests that cattle grazing on the native vegetation in the southern rangelands emit much less methane than cattle in higher input production systems. We recognise that the carbon footprint of the agricultural industry will be coming under more and more scrutiny by markets and financiers. Sourcing sustainable produce is becoming a focus for many international food giants, and as more research is carried out in our region, we are confident that we can prove that we're able to meet these emerging market demands without making any more major changes to our business. We will be scaling up our soil conservation efforts and fine-tuning our livestock management so that we become a meaningful contributor to mitigating climate change.